Yeah, I mean, obviously we got annihilated, destroyed, whatever word you want to use, on the glass. Still played a 2-point game against a really good team and had an opportunity to win, which I think anybody in any sport, when you go on the road, you want to give yourself an opportunity at the end of the game. Effort was outstanding. Anybody that watches us play talks about how hard we play. We just didn't rebound the ball at all. And when I mean at all, I mean I could take 5 of us in the media right now, and we could have defensive rebound just as good as what our team did last night.
Could you kind of diagnose what they did to limit Isaiah in the first half?
Foul trouble. I mean, I think he went out, played maybe 9 minutes the first half. So he got, he just picked up 2 fouls, and so I did a good job guarding him by sticking him on the bench. But I don't think there was anything in particular other than the fact that, Skylar Mays and Javonte Smart are 2 guards that put fouls on people on a nightly basis. So, he was guarding 2 really good players and picked up 2 fouls. And, as we do every game, for the most part, we let those guys sit with 2, and I'm glad we did because we certainly needed him in the second half.
What was your message to Reggie Chaney after the game, just to try to bounce back and not let himself get into his head after that technical?
Reggie he had 4 fouls in 5 minutes, and he got an opportunity to play in the game before that. And there's no question that I'm searching as a coach to try to find somebody that can spell Adrio some minutes at the 5. Who that player is, I can't tell you right now because I don't know. We'll just keep searching. And, certainly in a 2-point game, you do not want a technical foul, especially if you're only playing a limited amount of minutes. I think if Mason or Isaiah, somebody who's out there for a large portion of minutes, sometimes those type things happen. So I'm not happy about it, I can tell you that.
Was it an emotional thing for him? Got out of control?
I mean, you can't punch a basketball. I mean, you can't do it. So I don't know how you want me to answer it. I mean, a player punched a basketball and he had 4 fouls in 5 minutes. I mean, I wish I could.
Welcome in. It's our Friday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. When we came in with head hog Eric Musselman, reflecting back on their very disappointing road loss at Baton Rouge versus LSU 79-77. And Demetrius, when you heard the excerpts from Coach Must and the post play, as people just heard, he got into a little bit didn't sound too happy about what's taking place behind Adrio Bailey at all, don't you think?
Adrio Bailey, I think you're referring to
Reggie Chaney, yeah.
Reggie I was about to say Reggie Perry. I don't know why I was about to say Reggie Perry. Reggie Chaney, but yeah, he didn't sound at all happy. And I think he had a valid reason. When he stated, I could understand that from Isaiah Joe or Mason Jones or somebody that's playing extensive minutes,
right?
But somebody that just has a mental relapse in the game. He comes off the bench and makes a crucial, play like that to, kind of put the team in a bad position. It definitely sticks out in your mind.
Correct.
Because that's kind of like their highlight.
And you look at it, man. And you've heard me say this ever since Reggie Chaney signed with Arkansas, and even most of the time his freshman year. I've been a real fan and been in his corner because I feel like this is a very talented young man, could be one of the more talented, more productive players, for Coach Musselman. But it just doesn't seem to be clicking right now. I feel like like I say, he's the most athletic, but he's in his own way, and he's got to figure it out because he's got to understand there's help coming on the way with Connor Vanover sitting out a year. He'll be back. You got Jalen Williams from Northside is going to be coming in here. Moses Moody, another 6'6" combo guard forward. I mean, there's help coming on the way, and I think if you're like a Reggie Chaney or Ethan Henderson, you're playing for the next 2 years. I mean, if you don't produce and give Coach Muss and that staff a reason to keep you on board, I mean, you're hurting yourself. And I just thought, that technical right there before halftime, Arkansas was up 6. They get a technical, 2 shots. They get 6 free throws or 4 free throws. They hit 3 out of 4. when you look at that 2 free throws could have been essentially it's the difference in that ball game. You don't want to blame a young man, but those 2 free throws were unwarranted. And I thought it changed the game and the momentum because when LSU came out there in that second half, just seemed to have a little bit more bounce in their step, and it's just going to be real critical that either Gene Silla or Reggie Chaney or Ethan Henderson can step in there and spell Adriel Bailey for some very crucial minutes for the duration of this conference season going forward, Demetrius.
Yeah, I think, the more the season goes on, Muss is trying to find somebody, like you said, to help Odrio. I'm waiting to see, Jamario Bell's insertion into that rotation. I think that's a guy, that once he gets an understanding of what Musselman wants and his philosophy of what they're trying to do with the basketball team, I think he's going to be the one to kind of give him that leeway. I think with that big body and just such a big frame, he can really be a problem in the trenches.
Now it's time to interact. Terry Roy says it's bad, but he thought the coach should have kept the words in the locker room. I disagree. I think sometimes players need to be called out. I think you challenge your players, and so many times we tiptoe around and don't want to just be up front. I think that's where we're missing it in today's sports world. You get called out, step to a challenge, and I like what Coach Musselman. We're dealing with a coach that has NBA experience. So the way he's going to deal with things is going to be more upfront on a professional level, because I feel like if you can't handle it down in college from a coach that's done it at the next level, you're not going to be able to do it at the next level. And I feel like I really applaud coach calling it out. Call it like you see it. You're not getting production, needs to be said. You can't tippy-toe around because Arkansas has a chance to be really good, and this individual has a chance to take Arkansas over the top. And if nobody steps and challenges this young man, will he underachieve? He's clearly the most athletically gifted player on that team at 6'8", but he's the biggest head case on the team. And it just shouldn't be like that. Reggie came in and I think in 5 minutes had 3 fouls, a technical, 4 fouls. What good is that when you're hurting your basketball team? There's got to be some buy-in. And like I said, I keep saying, you're playing for years on down the road. We know if Isaiah stays, Isaiah's in the rotation. We know if Mason stays, he's in the rotation. We know if Desi stays, he's in the rotation. But it's those guys that are sophomores, that Reggie and that Ethan. They're, these are guys that are, very expendable, so to speak. I think you're hired to be fired, but I have no qualms. I, as a coach, sometimes do that with my players. Sometimes you just got to call them out and challenge them a little bit.
I'm gonna take a different perspective, and I'm gonna say I disagree. I think with Musselman, I think he definitely probably should have kept it. I think he could have expressed himself and still commented on the situation, but certain things you want to kind of keep in house because a lot of the times people allow the coach to do things with the players, but when it's time for the players to call the coach out, it's an issue. So I think that's a really tight rope to really walk, and I think. You have to be careful because sometimes that can make a kid shut down.
I think. I'm just gonna say a point. I don't see Reggie on this roster next year. I really don't see him on this roster.
I'm not disagreeing with you. That was something at the beginning of the year that we were questioning. What was going to be his role. We clearly knew Mason Jones and Isaiah Joe would be scorers. Nobody knew that Jimmy Witt would come back. So let's just go skip to Desi Field. We figured Desi would be the third option. And from there, we didn't know. I think that was where we had question marks from there. But I don't know. I think Musselman is doing a great job. I do like that he has kind of that player mentality. He definitely challenges these guys and make sure he holds them to a high standard and accountability. And he's emotional. I like that. But I just don't want him to get caught up in those emotions sometimes because you can definitely see he's infuriated with Chaney, but I think if Chaney can turn that switch on and definitely the Razorbacks get into that tournament play, I think he can be a crucial role. It's a crucial moment if he can get his head mentally in the game.
And that's the key word. Can he get his head mentally into the basketball season? I felt like they've been nurturing Reggie from the day that they got here. And it just doesn't seem to be clicking. So when a coach gets to this point and he's calling you out, something you're not listening to. And I have no qualms with that. It's like you can continue to tell your kids. Well, at some point, you're going to really have to take it to another, even more aggressive style of communicating to get the kid to respond. And I think that's what this is. It's an open challenge for Reggie Chaney to step it up. I mean, these are NBA type coaches. You're talking about Eric's done it at the highest level. Corey Williams played at the highest level. You have Earl Boykins. You have Clay Mosier coached at the highest level. Crutchfield knows about putting guys in the lottery. I mean, these are guys that you can learn from, and it's right there in front of Reggie. It's right there in front of him.
Hey, Nick Lee says we need a bully like Reggie.
Reggie's not playing like a bully. I'm just going to put it out there, guys. You got to watch the game and be real. Let's be real about it. Reggie Chaney's the downfall of this basketball team right now because it's a guy that's the tallest on the team that's bringing nothing. You shouldn't have to go to 5 guards. There should never be a 5-guard lineup if the guys like Ethan, the guys like Reggie. Reggie Chaney's the most gifted player on this basketball team, but when is Reggie going to show up and be locked in and game out? I've seen time and time again for the last 2 years, he'll be in the game 4 or 5 minutes, and there's 3 quick fouls, and they're really, really fouls that you scratch your head. And I didn't like the body language when he got taken out of the game on Tuesday. He sat there, Coach Williams was talking. It's like he was totally disengaged.
You know, that's not the first time we've seen that that kind of response from Reggie.
Right.
There was a couple of times last year where you would see, Mike pull him, and then the assistant come over and talk to him. TJ would come over and talk to him, and it just looked like he was in La La Land.
Right.
But again, I think Reggie can be what makes Arkansas score anywhere between 80 to 90 points.
Reggie could easily be a 10-6 guy. Very easily. I mean, he scored 10 points, grabbed 6 rebounds on night in and night out basis. It's just, when does Reggie decide that he's not going to take a back seat, he's not going to underachieve, and he's going to reach his potential? I'll say it again. He's the most talented, most athletic on this team. Now hear me. So when you're not playing, it's something that you're not doing, and Coach Musselman has said it time and time again. You have to earn the trust to get on the court. And right now, and I mean, it's just outside of Adriel at the 5 spot, they're getting absolutely nothing.
You know what I will say in Musselman's defense is it's not like they're asking a whole lot of Reggie. They're not asking him to go out there and be super Reggie and score 20 buckets and get 5 steals and 10 boards. They're just asking him to contribute positively.
Be consistent.
And I think that is an issue with his up and down, and it's just attention to detail when it comes to game time.
I don't think it's a layup issue. I just think it's a concentration. When you miss layups, that's all concentration. That's all it is. Just concentrating on making the bucket, pure and simple. But we're going to step away and let you hear a little more of Coach Muss. I think you want to hear more of that as well, because I know I do. Then we'll be back. The questions is, where is Arkansas? I mean, if you had to choose a guy to back up Adriel Bailey, which one will it be? Would it be Silla? Would it be Chaney? Would it be Henderson? Where would you go for the upcoming game tomorrow at Oxford if they get into that situation? We'll answer all those questions. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
How does a man walk on the moon? I don't know. But somebody did, and somebody punched a basketball. I don't know how, but he did it.
How was his response today in practice?
I'm not really worried about one player. We have a whole I'm trying to figure out who's going to play behind Adriel. That's what I'm trying to figure out, and who's going to produce and provide us something. That's what I'm trying to find. Silla has sat there patiently. Maybe he's a guy. Maybe it's another guard. Once again, we played a basketball against a very, very athletic team, and who rebounded the best? We go back and watch. Our 5 guards rebounded the best again last night during that stretch. I don't know how it happens, but it's now happened twice, and we've only played 2 SEC games, and in both those stretches, same point, same juncture in the game, the 5 guards was our best rebounding lineup, and that's when we made a little run in the second half.
How do you kind of unlock that potential on the offensive end with that 5-guard group? I think you mentioned against A&M they struggled a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that our 5, I didn't think we struggled last night really offensively with the 5 guards. I thought we had pretty decent, not great, but a pretty decent offensive flow all game. I thought we scored enough points, to win the game. If you look at our half-court defense, before they got the rebound, if you could just cut the film, I don't know if there's many teams in the country that could guard the way that we guarded up until the rebound. Again, that's unfortunately, you can't freeze frame and stop and say, you took a shot, now we get to take the ball and go the other way. There's a rebound that's part of the game of basketball. Half-court defense was awesome.
What are your thoughts, Tyree? What kind of problems he presents?
A lot. I mean, he can score, he can dribble.
Welcome back. It's our Friday edition. It's the A edition of On the Hill with Patrick and Sports Talk Radio. As we're still, we've been interacting with you guys so much, we thought we'd continue it on for a couple more segments. To next week. Next week's going to be real interesting. Got some big time guests that'll be making their way here on OTAs throughout the week, and much, much more. So you guys don't want to miss that. But we're going to get back to our comments, and Kevin Hanner had a great one. I sat behind the bench at the Georgia Tech game. Reggie's body language was clear that he wasn't a part of that team. We keep saying it. I mean, now, this is coming from a fan that was outside, that was a spectator and saw this. And so now people say you don't want to say it outside the locker room. When people are starting to visually see it, my grandpa always said, body language screams, it never whispers. And you can clearly, if you're at those games, you can clearly see that he's not engaged. Clearly see that.
Yeah, I kind of think that's due to a lack of insertion, but I think that's a self-inflicted problem. I think he's not probably getting the minutes that he would like to have.
You got to earn those
coming into the season, but I just think you really can't blame anybody but himself right now, because I think Musselman made a point. The 5 guards that he's been running with has been working. You can't fix nothing that ain't broke. So,
and then you get a comment, coach is being hypocritical. He slams the ball on the sideline. Totally not with any malice. What Coach Musselman did, what Reggie Chaney did, 2 different things. Totally different things. Coach Musselman never took the ball as it's coming out of the rim and slapped it into the stands. I don't know what level of basketball. I am a ref, and anytime I see that, it's an automatic technical. Now, I can handle a coach just grabbing the ball, slamming it on the side, maybe out of frustration. He's bouncing the ball coming back, but to stand there and slap a ball up in the bleachers, no. Absolutely not. Cannot be accepted. It was warranted, a technical. So we can't even compare Coach Muss and Reggie, because Coach Muss didn't give up 2 free throws and 2 free points and pick up an extra foul. See, that was the thing. He got an extra foul, which made it his 4th foul, which basically took him out of the game.
Yeah, but I think that goes back to that emotional thing that I said earlier. Musselman is one of those. He's a player. He's a competitor. He likes to win. And he reminds me of those athletes that come from greatness. His dad is a basketball guy, so he's used to winning. He comes from a winning background, so like I said,
and we got to stop being so soft with coaches calling out players. They're being challenged. You don't think Nick Saban ain't called out players? You don't think Mike Krzyzewski hadn't called out players?
Like I said, I think there's a process to that, because I think there's a level of respect, and then I think there's a level of disrespect that I don't care if we playing basketball and that you're the coach. There's still a level of respect that we still have to have as being grown men, because I've heard you say multiple times, hey, when you sign that letter of intent and they give you that scholarship, you're a grown man. You got to make grown man decisions. So at times I think coaches can really teeter-totter that line of what's disrespect and what's respect. So I think sometimes the best way to do it is keep it in-house. Now, again, I think the ball is in Reggie Chaney's court.
I mean,
now, if you don't want to be called out anymore, all you have to do is produce.
Demetrius, he started the season on a 4-game suspension.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how you came out the gates on a 4-game. So right there, you're in the doghouse. And to this point, the consistency, I hadn't seen it. I know that, and I continue. He's the most talented, most gifted basketball player on this team. If he could step forward, it would take Arkansas to even more notches as far as getting really good seeds in the tournament and making a run for the SEC. But, Reggie's his own worst enemy. We can talk about Muss saying what he said. We can talk about that. But at the end of the day, it goes from when you open up the season suspended. What is the disconnect? And it shows. I mean, when you got a guy at a Georgia Tech game, a fan behind the bench, and he can see it, I'm not blaming Muss. I'm not blaming it. It's time to challenge kids, and I think all the great ones, great athletes, step it up.
Absolutely, and that's why
And
I
they
say
accept it.
the ball is in Reggie Chaney's court. You know, if you don't want to be called out, you know, all you have to do is produce. That's why you're here. That's why you're on scholarship. You know, so I think they're not asking you anything of, you know, extra. This is what you came here to do, was play basketball. So at least you can do is produce. Because that's what you do. You know, when you based on work-based incentives, you have to produce. And if you're not producing, you're gonna lose your contract. Or if you're in the working world, you're gonna lose your job. So I think, you know, it's Chaney's situation to control. I think if he goes out there and does the little things that Musselman wants, like I said, I don't think Musselman has any problem giving him praise. I think if Chaney comes out and makes the winning bucket in next week game, I think, you know, Musselman will give him all the praise. You know,
and then we have Mr. Maybe something personal is going on with him, and I will make a comment. There is not a more open door policy on the staffs than what Coach Muss and his staff have available to those young men. Those young men can go in and talk with Coach Crutch, Coach Williams, Coach Mosier, Coach Muss, Coach Hayes, Coach Boykins. I mean, there's so many people to go. It's an open door. I mean, this is one of the better staffs I've seen as far as being more aware of what goes on off the court with their basketball players. And if you don't choose it, that's by choice. If you don't go in there and talk and communicate, that's part of you. Being an adult, you have to learn communication skills. And if I have a problem, I need to bring it to my coach, especially when I know that it's an open door policy. If I don't do that, then that's a choice I've made to not help myself. So, I mean, no, we got to start making these young men be accountable for their actions. They sign up for this. When you're not producing, coaches are getting hired and fired. And if you tippy-toe around being straight up with your players, I mean, you're going to be the next one on the list. And I like what Coach Muss is treating these guys on a level to get them ready for the next level. I mean, they're getting NBA coaching. I mean, everything in that building is very professional. So if you're not using it, that's your fault. And I think this is one of the better staffs that I've seen here in the basketball program at the University of Arkansas. But we'll step away. Caught up with Coach Mike Neighbors. He's going to give us a little preview of their disappointing loss. It's on my Facebook page. Their disappointing loss last night, 91-82, at the hands of the third-ranked South Carolina Gamecocks. And he's going to preview Missouri. They got them coming in to Bud Walton, Nolan Richardson Court on Sunday. We'll get all that, and then we'll come back with much, much, much more. More of your questions. It's the A, and it's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Back in a bit.
Shaken a little bit, but it came back. So I think that'll carry us over now to where on Sunday South Carolina can't beat us twice. I think if we'd have finished down 25, down 50, whatever math you want to extrapolate out of the deficit that we faced early, certainly could have made for a different return trip home, different prep today, and then could have obviously been a different result on Sunday, which in this league, if you let that happen, then one loss becomes two losses becomes 8 out of 9, like we saw last year. So there was a lot of encouragement after rewatching the film, but you can't expect lapses against a team that I think's got the potential to be a Final Four team in South Carolina. So you turn your attentions to Missouri, and a team we haven't beaten in 7 games, so full attention now on the Tigers.
I guess we can start with a little bit more favorable matchup if you go on here with Missouri, right?
Yeah, and Aaliyah Boston, Victoria Saxton, Herbert Harrigan, even their guards, Beal. There are some people on their rosters who exaggerate their size, and then there are people that maybe don't do them justice. So, favorable size-wise, favorable style of play-wise. But, again, when you've lost 7 in a row to somebody, you haven't created much of a rivalry. It's supposed to be our rival game, our 2 times a year rival game. So, they have traditionally been an inside-based team, but now they're a perimeter team with their freshmen. They've got a couple really good freshmen on the perimeter. So, a different style Missouri team than what we've played in those last 7. But nonetheless, a team that's certainly had our number and comes in I don't care what their record is overall. The only number I look at is 7-0 in our last 7 games.
Well, and they do have one. They beat a LSU team, which obviously beat A&M.
Pretty good. Yeah, Kenny Carter got hurt.
Yes.
If you saw Kenny went
Second
down.
half.
But yeah, LSU beat an LSU
Come
team.
back with our
Missouri
sponsors
is very,
real
very
quick.
capable, and they can, put their record out there.
Welcome back to the A edition of our Friday up on the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. Real quick, want to give a shout out to those that make this possible. Our sponsors, Lindsay and Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville and office also in Rogers. Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting, residential, commercial. You need it to look good. Contact Corey Beck. And lastly, KDK's Chicken at 989 South Razorback Road. Get down there, catch Keith and Kathy. Get a plate of that love. And like they say, it's not your mama's. Best chicken and waffles in the South. But back to all of our comments, as this has been a very hot topic. And, I want to make a note when, Dabo Swinney, several weeks ago, young man got kicked out of the game, made that young man not catch a flight back with the team. He rode 7 hours back on the bus with the equipment and the managers. Didn't hear anybody talk about that. They responded. That's a good program. So when you're winning, I guess it's okay. Dabo calls his young man out. And that was widely known throughout all national media that this young man had to ride back on the bus because Dabo stepped up in a press conference, said the young man's name, and talked about the discipline that he had to face following that ball game. So, it goes on. It's just how do you respond? And I think that's where we're at with Reggie responding. But also, too, had another quick question. Hey, get me off there. Had another quick question. Mike Leach already making waves. Mr. Leach, he's in the SEC, Demetrius. And we all know that Media Day in Atlanta in 2020 will be quite the experience having Leach, Kiffin, Jimbo Fisher, Mark Stoops. A lot of those trash talkers will be making their way and descending on Atlanta this year.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it yesterday, and mentioned that the type of excitement and character that's going to be at SEC Media Day this year. It's going to be in Atlanta, so I'm very, very, very. No, it's in
Atlanta.
It is in Atlanta this year, so it's going to be in Atlanta again. So I think just the atmosphere and the events will be very fun. We're going to see, good, clean football. I think we're getting ready to go back into that golden era of football where people really knew that the SEC was dominant back when you had like Les Miles, Urban Myers, Nick Saban's.
Who are you most excited to hear in the upcoming Media Day?
Probably Lane Kiffin. I want to see what he's gonna do. I think he's been a tool piece to championships, but he's never been the whole utility belt. So I'm ready.
I'll tell you what, that Mississippi State rivalry, man, it just ramped up 10 times.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be
more.
Good.
With Leach and Kiffin, think about leading up the week of that game, all the sound clips that we're going to be able to get. It's just going to be quite the experience. I feel like the SEC, and I've said it, and Demetrius has heard me say it multiple times. And if you watched our Media Day show last year down in Hoover, Alabama, I spoke on parity, and I really feel like it's really about to heat up in this conference with so many great coaches, hiring great staffs that are, have these elite recruiters. Most staffs have at least 2 or 3 coaches on their staff that's been a national recruiter at some point during their career, and I think that's going to be really, really big going forward. Also, to make a note, Arkansas did pick up a commitment today from a young man from Arkansas State. I believe his name is Jeremy Jacobs. He'll be grad transferring to the University of Arkansas. And from the film, I'm telling you, Demetrius, this is going to be a kid that's going to bring some physicalness to that position, some ball skill ability, and whatnot. How big is that for this team, seeing as how they did have a deficiency at that spot?
Yeah, I think it's going to be huge. That was like you said, definitely one of the deficiencies on the defense this year was defensive lineman. So I think he can definitely bring an edge to here and a big presence.
Larry Brown wants to know when we'll hear from Sam Pittman. I feel like LB here in a couple weeks. I think they have the coaches convention coming up, big recruiting weekend. So I think hopefully here in a couple of weeks we're going to have Coach Pittman on at some point next week, where you'll get a chance to hear from him here on OTH. I will be making notes, and we'll definitely do a lot of pubbing for that occasion. But next week, he'll be one of the special guests that we're going to have on the air. Like I said, stay tuned for all times in that day. But, yeah, we'll have Coach Pittman on very, very soon. And I got some questions to ask Coach P myself about his staff and areas of recruiting, the types of kids that he's going to be looking for, to bring to the University of Arkansas. Just a lot of really exciting things are going to be going on here on OTH in the coming days and in coming weeks. And I'm really excited for that. But we're going to take our last commercial. We've got some things that we have to do really quick. Got to pay some bills. We'll let you hear more of Mike Neighbors, and then we'll come back and close this thing out. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Back in a moment. Pop it, D.
Yeah, I mean, when the schedule came out, this was a difficult, we felt like these two games and when you think any time when you play back-to-back road games, I mean, we didn't get back till 1:30. We're leaving tomorrow. Hopefully this press thing won't last too long, and I'll be able to do a load of laundry real quick and pack and get ready for tomorrow, because it's a short turnaround. Ole Miss has an extra day of prep and an extra day with their legs to rest, which is going to flip-flop for us one time too. So I'm not using that as any factor. But we do have travel again tomorrow, and not sure if our shoot-around time will be at 6 in the morning or 4 in the morning. But hopefully we'll get a decent shoot-around time and be able to get a little bit of sleep.
LSU's physicality was an issue. Does Ole Miss present the same problems or not?
Of the A, and it's going to be our final segment for the week. But I want to make a note also, too. Let's talk a little recruiting. And it's been noted that 5-star offensive tackle out of Lithonia, Georgia, Broderick Jones, will be making an official visit next weekend to the University of Arkansas campus. And Demetrius, real quick, we talked about this before we came on the air. When was the last time that you can remember that Arkansas has had such a highly sought-after offensive line prospect visit the University of Arkansas? He's doing some research on that, and we'll get back. But Broderick Jones is a young man that I believe I mentioned, and we talked about here on our air several weeks ago as a possible recruit that Coach Pittman would be bringing. When you look at Coach Pittman, everywhere he's been, I mean, people say you shouldn't recruit, but I think you recruit the best players. And, naturally some of those guys, as evidence when he came from Tennessee to Arkansas, that being Reeve Kohler and Dan Skipper, following him from Tennessee to Arkansas. Same thing when he went from Arkansas to Georgia. He had a couple kids that were going to commit to Arkansas that followed him to Georgia. So likewise, I think Cedric Van Pran is another young man, the top center in the nation out of the New Orleans area, went to Easton High School. I think he's going to be a guy you got to keep an eye out on as maybe making a possible visit here the last 2 or 3 weekends leading up to signing day. But that's real big, Demetrius, when you can get 5-star linemen. And we all know, I mean, how many times have you told me that offensive line is not up to SEC standards? How big is this to be able to start attracting some of the nation's elite back to the university?
Oh, it's great because, you go back to building your old identity. It's like they're taking an old key tradition from Arkansas and really evolutionizing it into modern times. with this dual threat quarterback. Not to say he's the first dual threat quarterback, whoever the quarterback may be,
Right.
but this is something you haven't seen a whole lot of at Arkansas.
Nick Lee, I think you were right. I think Denver Kirkland was the last Under Armour All-American lineman that Arkansas signed. I remember watching his signing day press conference and you know, him reaching down and getting that Arkansas hat. I think, you know, Randy Shannon played a big part in getting Denver to the University of Arkansas. I believe he had went to school with either Denver's mom or uncle. It was some type of family connection, but you're very, very much correct. Thanks for that information. But you can see Sam in the offensive line. Like I said, we've always talked about the brand of Arkansas. What will be the brand? And we know that when you talk about Arkansas now, you're going to know big, fundamentally sound, and very physical will be the tags that you'll be able to put on a Sam Pittman team. But that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you all for all your comments this week. Really, really enjoy interacting with you all. We'll be back. You know we're coming back next week. But tomorrow, Arkansas travels to Oxford, Mississippi to take on the Ole Miss Rebels. Tip off 5 p.m. And then on Sunday, the Lady Razorbacks, they host the Missouri Tigers in Bud Walton Arena on Nolan Richardson Court. We'll have all that for you on Monday. I want to give a shout-out to my producer, Demetrius Johnson. Also, too, I want to give a shout-out to all of our sponsors, Lindsay and Associates, Locomotion, Quarry Beck's Custom Painting, and KDK's Chicken. Also want to make a note tonight, we will be broadcasting the Fayetteville Bulldogs as they host the Rogers Mounties. Girls basketball game will tip off tonight on FM 106.1 at 6 p.m. We'll come on air at 5:50, followed by the boys game at 7:30. Be sure and check us out. That's tonight on Red Dirt 106.1. You can hear in its entirety the full broadcast of the Fayetteville Bulldogs as they host the Rogers Mounties. Once again, girls tip off 6 p.m., followed by the boys game roughly around 7:30. We look forward to hearing from you and checking out the game. I look forward to being on the call as well as the number one ranked team comes to Bulldog Arena. With all that being said, you guys have a very blessed one, and we'll see you on Monday. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. And you know I can't get out of here without saying it. Let's get it. Ooh, Liz is coming to get me. Boy, this heat is on. That heater ain't no joke, buddy.